Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're exploring the life of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud.
One of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad.
That's right. And it's amazing what we can learn from these historical figures.
Yeah, about character and learning, these timeless lessons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, our main source today is a collection of excerpts about his life.
Okay.
So let's start at the beginning.
All right.
So we have Ibn Mas'ud, who is a young shepherd in the mountains of Mecca.
Mm.
And he comes across these two travelers
Okay.
who are tired and thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
They ask him for milk.
Sounds pretty ordinary, right?
Yeah, it's just a simple interaction, but this turns out to be like a pivotal moment for Ibn Mas'ud
Interesting.
because these travelers
Yeah.
ended up being the Prophet Muhammad and Abu Bakr.
Wow. So that's a pretty significant encounter.
Right, and what's so interesting about this is that Ibn Mas'ud is super honest with them
Hmm.
because he could have easily just given them milk that wasn't his,
Right.
but he chooses to be truthful.
Yeah, and it seems like that honesty really made a mark.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think it was about that honesty that resonated with the Prophet so much?
I think it was a sign of something deeper, maybe trustworthiness,
Yeah.
potential for leadership even.
I mean, it's true. They say these small character traits can reveal so much about a person.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe Ibn Mas'ud's honesty just kind of showed that he had like a strong moral compass.
Right, something really important in those times.
Absolutely. And this also makes me think about how these small interactions can have such huge impact on our lives.
Definitely a reminder to be mindful in all our interactions because you never know.
Who you might be influencing.
Exactly. And for Ibn Mas'ud, this was just the start.
Yeah.
He was so inspired by the Prophet that he actually left his life as a shepherd.
Wow, that's a big change.
Yeah, to serve him directly.
I mean, that must have taken so much courage and dedication, you know?
Yeah, definitely. To leave everything behind like that for something greater.
What do you think motivated him to make such a huge shift?
Well, the sources say he had a real thirst for knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, who better to learn from than the Prophet himself?
That's true.
So I think he saw it as a chance for spiritual growth
Yeah.
and also intellectual development.
So we're seeing honesty and a desire for knowledge emerging.
Yeah, these are key traits that shaped his path.
And speaking of learning, Ibn Mas'ud eventually becomes known as the companion closest to the Prophet in character.
That's interesting.
What does that tell us about how he actually learned?
It shows the power of a living example.
Right.
He wasn't just learning from, lectures or sermons.
Mm-hmm.
He was constantly observing the Prophet's actions,
Yeah.
how he interacted with others, how he handled difficult situations.
Like a truly immersive experience.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the difference between reading about kindness and actually seeing someone embody it.
Yeah, it makes the lesson so much stronger.
Absolutely. And think about the dedication that takes, to be present, to pay attention to all the details, to absorb it all,
Wow.
and try to emulate it in your own life. It's incredible.
It really shows his commitment to self-improvement.
Yes, definitely to becoming the best version of himself.
Exactly. And eventually that leads him to become a master of the Qur'an.
Yeah, the holy book of Islam.
And there's this amazing story about Umar, who later became a caliph.
Okay.
He hears someone reciting the Qur'an from memory, and he gets furious
Oh, wow. Why?
because he thinks someone's changing the sacred text.
Right.
But then he finds out it's Ibn Mas'ud, and he's immediately relieved.
Wow, that's quite the turnaround.
I know, so this shows just how much trust and respect Ibn Mas'ud had earned.
Yeah, he wasn't just reciting words, he was embodying the spirit of the Quran.
Yeah.
Preserving its essence,
Wait, like-
conveying its message so clearly.
Like he wasn't just memorizing it, he was living it.
Exactly. And he achieved this through pure dedication. The sources describe him staying up all night reciting and memorizing verses.
I mean, it's like any skill, right? Mastery requires effort and discipline. And in Ibn Mas'ud's case, a deep love for what he was learning.
Yeah, it wasn't a chore, it was a passion.
Absolutely. And that passion extended beyond just the Quran. He becomes known for his knowledge of Sharia.
Islamic law.
That's right. He wasn't afraid to explore difficult topics and, reach out to people who knew more than him.
Right. So humble, too.
Yeah, he knew that learning's a continuous journey, always willing to learn new perspectives.
That's a lesson for all of us, isn't it? To approach learning with that same humility, to be open to expanding our understanding, and to never be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly. So we've seen Ibn Mas'ud's honesty and his passion for learning.
Right, his dedication to the Prophet's teachings.
But his story, it doesn't end there.
Yeah, he also faced some pretty tough challenges.
Oh, yeah, major adversity.
And showed remarkable resilience.
He did, and I think one of the best examples is his bravery in sharing the message of Islam.
Even when met with hostility and, persecution.
Yeah, because back then Muslims were a minority in Mecca, and their beliefs were often challenged and opposed.
Definitely.
So can you imagine the courage that must have taken to stand up for your beliefs, even when you know you could be putting yourself in danger?
Yeah, absolutely.
The sources talk about how Ibn Mas'ud would go to the Kaaba.
The holiest site in Islam.
Yeah, and recite the Qur'an aloud in public.
Wow, knowing the risks involved.
Yeah, picture that for a second. Him standing there, surrounded by people who disagree with his faith. His voice ringing out with the words of the Qur'an.
That's a powerful image.
What do you think gave him that kind of strength?
I think it was a deep sense of duty.
Yeah.
A real conviction in his beliefs.
Like a combination of both.
Probably. Yeah, he believed in what he was sharing and felt responsible to spread that message.
Even with the opposition.
Exactly. And this wasn't just a one-time thing either.
Oh, really?
There's another account where he was badly beaten for reciting the Quran.
Oh, wow.
And when his friends expressed concern, he simply said that the enemies of God were no more comfortable than he was.
That is incredible.
Right.
Talk about inner strength and resilience.
Yeah, it's like he was saying, my faith is stronger than any pain.
Powerful stuff.
And that unwavering belief, it can be such a source of power, especially during hard times.
Absolutely.
It reminds us that true strength isn't just physical.
It's about inner conviction.
Exactly. And that's something we can all learn from,
Yeah.
standing firm in your beliefs, whether it's speaking out against injustice or just staying true to your values.
Totally. And, courage isn't always about these external threats either.
Right.
It's also about facing those internal struggles.
Absolutely.
And even on his deathbed, Ibn Mas'ud shows a different kind of courage.
Facing mortality.
That's right. The sources describe him not focused on possessions or worldly things at the end,
Interesting.
but he's seeking his Lord's mercy and advising his children to recite Surah al-Waqiah.
A chapter in the Quran.
Yeah, believed to protect from poverty.
Wow, even in his last moments, he's thinking of others.
I know, it's so
It
touching.
really shows his love and compassion.
And also this practical side to his faith.
Right. He wasn't just focused on the afterlife. He understood earthly needs, too.
Like a balance between spirituality and practicality.
Exactly. And this reminds me of his bond with the Prophet.
How so?
He wasn't just copying the Prophet's actions. He was internalizing those values.
Yeah,
Living them out.
in his own way.
Exactly. And how he lived, how he taught, even how he prepared his children.
That's true. Learning isn't just knowledge.
Right.
It's about turning that knowledge into action character.
A way of being.
And his passing itself is a testament to that.
Yeah.
To die with your tongue still moist from remembering God and reciting the Quran.
It's powerful imagery.
So powerful, it speaks to a life so connected with faith and devotion.
Beautiful and a poignant end to a life full of learning and teaching.
And unwavering faith.
It makes us wonder, how do we want to be remembered?
What legacy are we building?
Yeah.
Ibn Mas'ud's life, it's really something else. It just shows you the impact one person can have.
Absolutely. It's a testament to character, to courage, and a lifetime of learning.
For sure. And although his life might seem extraordinary, I think there's a lot we can all learn from it.
Yeah, and apply it to our own lives even today.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm wondering, what are the key takeaways here?
The big lessons. What can we learn from Ibn Mas'ud's journey?
Yeah. What stands out?
Well, one thing that really strikes me is his intentionality,
How so?
Like right from that first meeting with the Prophet,
Yeah.
he was actively looking for opportunities for growth and learning.
He didn't just wait around.
No, he made choices that really shaped his path.
That proactiveness is something we can all work on, right?
Definitely. It's about realizing that we have the power to choose.
Yeah, to choose our path, to seek out mentors, to actively learn and make decisions that align with our values.
Exactly. And it's also about recognizing the power of a living example.
Right. Ibn Mas'ud didn't just read about the Prophet's teachings.
He saw them in action.
Yeah, he witnessed those values in everyday life.
And that made such a difference.
It makes you think about the people we surround ourselves with.
Oh, definitely.
Are we choosing to be around people who inspire us, who challenge us to be better,
It's an important question to ask ourselves.
to be intentional about who our living examples are?
For sure.
And of course, we can't forget the importance of courage.
Oh, absolutely. Ibn Mas'ud showed so much bravery standing up for his beliefs and facing challenges.
It reminds us that courage can take many forms.
It's not always about physical strength or big actions.
Yeah, it's about inner strength, staying true to yourself even when it's hard,
Exactly, speaking up even when your voice shakes,
and facing uncertainty with grace and resilience.
like he did on his deathbed.
His story shows us that even when facing our mortality, we can find peace in our faith and in the legacy we leave behind.
Beautifully said, and I think that's the beauty of his legacy. It still inspires us today. He shows us that a life well lived is a life of learning, of courage, of compassion, and of unwavering faith.
So before we go, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
Reflect on Ibn Mas'ud's journey and what resonated with you. How can you bring those qualities into your own life?
Good question. How can you be more intentional about your growth, more courageous in your actions, more dedicated to learning and good character?
And remember, learning from others is such a powerful way to enrich our own lives.
Absolutely. Studying those who came before us gives us wisdom, inspiration, and new ways to live more meaningful lives.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the life and legacy of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Until next time, keep diving deep.